You gotta get up. Body me wake up and make a move. Oh. Cause the world will never see you until you do. They no really care, see they do you. Oh. So make you show them, baby. Oh yeah, show them the real you. Oh yeah, show them what you get. No, don't let them say what's in other why you strong, oh. You can't break, no. You want more than 1,000 reasons why. You don't need to perfect, baby. Cause nobody perfect, darling. No, there's nobody in the world will be like you. You gotta get up. Body me wake up and make a move. Oh. Cause the world will never see you until you do. They no really care, see they do you. Oh. So make you show them, baby. Oh yeah, show them the real you. Oh yeah, show them what you get. No, don't let them say what's in other why you strong, oh. You can't break, no. You want more than 1,000 reasons why. You don't need to perfect, baby. Cause nobody perfect, darling. No, there's nobody in the world will be like you. You gotta get up. Body me wake up and make a move. Oh. Cause the world will never see you until you do. They no really care, see they do you. Oh. So make you show them, baby. Oh yeah, show them the real you. Oh yeah, show them what you get. No, don't let them say what's in other why you strong, oh. You can't break, no. You want more than 1,000 reasons why. You don't need to perfect, baby. Cause nobody perfect, darling. No, there's nobody in the world will be like you. You gotta get up. Body me wake up and make a move. Oh. Cause the world will never see you until you do. They no really care, see they do you. Oh. So make you show them, baby. Oh yeah, show them the real you. Oh yeah, show them what you get. No, don't let them say what's in other why you strong, oh. You can't break, no. You want more than 1,000 reasons why. You don't need to perfect, baby. Cause nobody perfect, darling. No, there's nobody in the world will be like you.
Well, hello, welcome to another episode of Touch a Cell with Tony and the gang. And this is a production of Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative, of course, with the support of the Public Affairs section of the United States. So we'll just get right to it. We are just a bit, about 4 minutes already behind schedule. We are celebrating the African Youth Month. That's the first time I'm hearing something like that, though, but it's good to celebrate such. So I'll be bringing in our guests right away. So here is Titilayo Makinde. Welcome. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, I can. Good evening.
Good evening. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Professor Peter Osikoya.
Professor K.
Why are you touching your screen now? You cannot see yourself.
I can see you too.
Yes, now, Peter. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so we are, is it commemorating or celebrating the African Youth Month? I don't know, it's the first time I'm hearing something like that, so it's a good one though to the African think about. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
We can hear you.
So I was just saying that this is the first time I would hear about the African Youth Month. I mean, when I saw about it, it seemed funny, but it's good to celebrate the African youth. Or what do you think?
Yes. Can I take that?
Yes, can go ahead.
Okay, yes. You said it is, if I got that correctly,
Of
you
course,
said it
it's
is
good.
good.
It's at least it brings us to the fact that youths are also admired,
Recognized?
kind of, or that they
Oh,
appreciate.
okay. Okay. All right. So let's just get right to it. So as African youth now, as an African youth, for each of you doing what you are doing in your fields of endeavor, so what would be the biggest challenge facing the youth in this continent? So Titi, did you get that?
Yes, the challenges facing the youth.
Of the African continent.
Wow. There are a whole lot, I believe.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, tell us.
we grew up to know that, okay, we are the leaders of tomorrow, the youth today are the leaders of tomorrow. And then one challenge that has been is, can you hear me?
Yes, very well, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah. A lot of challenges, basically, like I said. But firstly, like I said, we grew up to know that, okay, youth are we are the leaders of tomorrow and all of that. But we discovered that one major challenge that we have been facing is we've not been given the, I say, space, to come into that position of leadership. We've been, would I say, relegated in certain ways. We, even from the political field, coming through from the political field and all of that, we discover that youth are not given that space. So even when you're out there trying to work in different fields of endeavor as a youth, you are not necessarily, listened to, sometimes. So that will be it for me. We're not given the space. It could, in different contexts.
Okay, so,
really.
Okay, so Peter, she was just talking about the challenges facing African youths, the youths of the African continent. So for you now, Peter, I would like us to bring it down to what you do. Both are sickle cell advocates. You advocate for persons living with a chronic condition known as sickle cell disorder. So, what would you say is your biggest challenge in this field as a youth?
Yeah. Okay. For what I do, because I do a lot of interactions with doctors, I found out that they feel threatened by youths because they think that youths are beginning to think they know more than them, which is very wrong. We are not saying we know more than you. We are just trying to correct you where need be, and which sometimes they are being defensive about, especially the health workers, defensive about it. So I feel that they should know that youth nowadays have learned to understand themselves. So it's easier for them to have discussions with you to tell you what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And if they are trying to intercede for somebody else, it's because they've either had interactions with a whole lot of people, or they just know that sometimes this is what works, this is how best to treat them. So I see that youth have not been given a voice to speak out, which is very challenging, especially when you're in the hospital and you can't even have interactions with your doctor without being shut up. So I think African Youth Month is just telling us, okay, as a youth, you have a voice.
Okay, I like that. But don't you think that the people, the youth now, they are kind of doing some of these things, in a maybe in a very wrong way? Maybe they are going about it in a wrong way, causing this friction between them and the medical personnel. Even Titi talked about being given a chance in the political sphere and all that. Don't you think the youngsters, the youths in quotes now, especially here in Africa, don't you think we are all going about it the wrong way?
Yes, to an extent, I think I agree that some people are going about it the wrong way because they are pained about it. So when they speak out, they are speaking out with anger, which is not supposed to be. Sometimes they need to put themselves in the position of the person they are reaching out to, because the person will be defensive. So
can you hear me, please?
I think they wouldn't know that. Okay. Okay, so they wouldn't know that they are speaking out with frustration, but if we try to educate the youth to know that sometimes you are angry about something, that's not how you put it out there. You calm down, think about how the other person feels, and try to make them understand by having either gentle talks with them to help them see the difference, not by just coming out, oh, you must do it this way, you must do it this way. No, that's not how it works. So, okay, so I have noticed this is how it should be. I have seen that this doesn't work, this is how it should be.
Okay.
They will see reason.
I hope you two are learning to calm down.
Calmly and show them a different perspective to what they already know.
Okay. So I hope you are learning to calm down. You are calming down.
You are
calming down when you are
doing. For them to be trained, because youth now are angry. Well, I'm trying, because but sometimes some situation requires strong measures.
Right. So now, you being a young person or a youth in this generation, how much impact have you done in this community?
Oh, impact.
Community.
Okay, I wouldn't know the impact I have. It's the people who have impacted that will actually know. But to an extent, I think I've done a very good job in impacting the sickle cell community, because my goal is actually to help them become better, live a better life. Because I've noticed that a whole lot of warriors have restricted themselves. Would I say restricted? Yes. So made themselves feel less because they live with sickle cell, and they care less about their health and what happens to them or their family. So I think I've done a good job trying to help them understand that living with sickle cell is just a part of you, and there's more to you than living with sickle cell. In guiding them in counseling, helping the parents see different views to having a sickle cell child, and even warriors themselves not to think less of themselves, so to speak, and engaging families where need be to help them understand that, okay, sometimes it's how to take care of the child, sometimes it's not to take care of the child, and that's it.
Okay, so Titi, I see that you write a lot of stories. Many times I like to read your stories, personal stories. They are very
Story
Very,
queen.
very interesting. Yes, very, very interesting, quite insightful and all that. So how much of your storytelling technique now, how much of it would you say have yielded impact for the civil cell community, if you can judge?
Ooh, I would say almost okay. I would say about 99% of my stories have yielded impact because for
Hmm.
every story that I write, there's always a response, that leads to at least one person taking the right step towards, the choice of a marital partner. And for every story, there's always that,
Hmm.
uh, response from one or more
Hmm.
persons, not just from the comments. You get people coming, to the to my inbox and talking about, okay, what you mentioned, I go through stuff like this, I've gone through this and that. And, I would say storytelling has yielded so many, in fact, a lot, a
Hmm.
lot. In fact, I'm so grateful that I found that tool, the tool of
Okay, so
storytelling.
would you encourage other youths, like Prof just mentioned now, that a lot of these young people like to hide. They're always hiding. You have to play catch up with some of them sometimes. So are you trying to tell them now, please share your stories, or it's going to help us, or I don't know. What are you trying to tell them now?
Yes, I encourage people to tell their stories because apart from what you could say, sharing story does with changing lives, creating awareness. Storytelling is very therapeutic for me,
Mm.
and I encourage people to do so. Sometimes I share my
Hmm.
story. I
Hmm.
get to cry, but I discover that it's a way to unwind.
Therapeutic.
And sometimes I'm the kind of person that
Hmm.
loves, would I say,
Okay.
compliments. And sometimes when I tell my story, just one point of, wow, you are strong. It gives me that wow.
Hmm.
So storytelling, apart from being,
Yeah.
creating awareness, a tool to create awareness, apart from being a tool to,
Hmm.
talk about it, it is therapeutic for the storyteller, I believe.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
encourage people to.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Wonderful.
that's a nice one. So, like
We that
I
don't know how to write, what should
know,
we do?
therapists always encourage um, journaling, and you do your own in form of another way. You like to talk now. If you don't like to write, you like to. I know you like to talk.
You talk.
So there are other forms you can use. Okay, so
As well.
in trying to um, create these impacts, tell your stories and all. In Africa, in fact, let me even start from Nigeria. In fact, from the West where we are now. Some people will say this Yoruba language is not is a co-own. Some people will say this one is Ondo. Some people will say so. How do you manage? Because I know where you are, Titi, in Ilorin. They have a certain dialect they use, and I see you go out there a lot. How do you manage? And I know you once said you were not very fluent in the language. You didn't grow up in the West, right? So
Yes.
how do you tend to bridge this gap? Because language barrier is actually is a very huge problem in trying to create solutions for certain, particular issues, social issues. So how do you manage?
Okay. I grew up in the Federal Capital Territory where there was no Yoruba. It was English. Everybody was speaking English and a bit of Hausa. So, and then being in Ilorin where they speak about 3 or 4 different languages, they speak Yoruba. We have Fulani people here. We have Nupe and different languages. How I try to bridge is for the Yoruba speaking public, I develop myself in the Yoruba way. I watched a lot of
Okay.
Yoruba programs. I listened to a lot of radio programs because I knew that if I would do sickle cell advocacy, I must be ready to talk. And these guys doing the
Okay.
radio shows, they were talk active, not talk active, like they were talk active. And if I would understand Yoruba
Talk
very well,
active.
I would have to listen to them. So in the aspect of them, yes. So if I would do well, I had to. So I did a lot of radio programs. So to bridge the language barrier for people to understand me in the community where I'm doing advocacy, I needed to develop myself. But I saw that we could not do that alone.
So for someone,
there was a need to, recruit youths. So we in communities where they speak Nupe, and like I don't know a word in Nupe. I speak a bit of Hausa. I can do house advocacy in Hausa, like a bit, but Nupe I can't. So we had to recruit more youths. So to bridge the language barrier, we just have to involve,
So what would you advise? Yeah.
I advise teamwork.
Okay, so involving other youths, it's exactly.
Yeah.
So Peter, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I think teamwork. I go with teamwork, but we also have that some youths are still in hiding, and they have amazing stories to tell. They have touching stories that will impact lives. We have people who know different languages but are still afraid of they say I live with sickle cell and nobody knows I live with sickle cell outside. It's a problem. So teamwork and also trying to change the mentality of the youth towards their own kind of person, so that they know that it's not how the world sees you, it's how you see yourself that the world accepts. So if you are thinking is what the world sees that you would accept, is very wrong. See yourself the way you want the world to see you, so that the world accepts you.
If I ask you to say
it's how it came to me also.
If I ask you to say it in your language, how would you say it?
I can't. Okay, I'm not so fluent in Yoruba. I said Yoruba. I said Yoruba. Okay, while growing up, I speak Yoruba in my house. Nah, I'm talking to Igbo. I speak only English. So in Yoruba, it's going to be difficult a lot. How do I say it in Yoruba? I don't want to taboo, so let me just say before they say Ijebu, but I don't know how to speak Yoruba. Let me continue in English. But teamwork works, right? But put yourself out there.
So Titi, here's a question for you. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Wow. Okay. How was I able to overcome that fear? How was I able to overcome that fear? Okay. For me, I honestly had the fear of stigma, like for a very long time, not so much, but when I wanted to come out at first, I was sharing my story using another person's name. I'd be like, I have a friend that's a friend lives with sickle cell, but she didn't know until she was 18. And then, and then people be like, okay. But once when I was comfortable with somebody and I told her, she had a child, and I told her my story using myself, telling her it was my story, I saw that the reaction was totally different from when I just say, I have this friend somewhere in Badagry that got to know she had sickle cell at 18. I saw that people were able to relate with me more, that this is her story. So I discovered that if I would do total sickle cell advocacy, for me, my story must be there. And I know that I must overcome stigma. So how did I overcome stigma? I want to believe that there are no exact practical ways, there are different ways that could lead to the market for anybody. But for me, overcoming stigma began when I discovered that sharing my story for me, sharing my story doesn't bring me stigma. In fact, it helps people to accept me more.
Okay. I think I agree with that.
People will be like, whenever I share my story, in fact, I have been more accepted in places where I share my story than where I do not. So I discovered that if I would do sickle cell advocacy, I must share my story. I think it was through that I discovered while sharing my story, I was breaking stigma. It was not like I sat down and began to think of, oh, now if I share my story, people will not stigmatize me. I just discovered that whenever I share my story, I was more accepted. But I discovered that there were certain ways that I shared my story that brought stigma.
Okay.
So one way I overcame stigma,
okay.
sharing my story the very right way. That is, sharing my story in a way that says the truth, but sharing it in a way that people understand that I am not asking to be pitied.
People can relate to it.
Can relate to it totally and know that I am. So I think for me, overcoming stigma started when I discovered that, okay, I must share my story honestly and completely. Maybe that's it.
So, yeah. So, Peter, you want to add anything to this?
Some
At
of
least
us,
I've learned something. There's a certain way you can share your story.
Yes, that's true.
Some of you
yes. Yeah, sometimes, yes, the way we tell our story also matters, because some people tell their stories to be pitied, to get favors, which is very wrong. And so it's best you tell your story to improve the life of others, to help them understand that they need to improve on them, so they should not make this kind of mistakes, and that the future is bright for them. The future is bright for their children. So then some people, they tell their stories to scatter table. So we are keeping the story. Some people are keeping the story because it's scatter table now. So let's just keep this story. See, when you know that if you scatter table, you can stand on your own without anybody. So, but the thing is, come out there, share your stories without the fear of anybody intimidating you. Because it is very needed. It's very needed. Because if you are afraid that if you share your story today, when you get back to your house, they'll send you packing, you have to think twice. But you also have to know that your story would help you become a better version of yourself. So you have to choose to decide what you want for yourself.
That's true. That's true. So what? Okay, so we have 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes. So in this community now, what changes, let's say in the next 50 years down the line, what kind of improvement would you like to see? What changes would you like to see?
Ladies first.
Okay, me, I want to believe that in the next 50 years we don't need sickle cell advocates anymore. Okay, not totally, not entirely. In the next 50 years, sickle cell advocates will just exist.
Ilongo.
I want to believe that sickle cell advocates will only exist at that time.
Okay, so Peter, you are a genetic counselor. Do you agree?
I did hear what
she said. In the next 50 years, that we will no longer need sickle cell. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can now.
She said in the next 50 years, there won't be any need for sickle cell advocates. So now I'm asking you, you're a genetic counselor. Do you agree? Do you agree with that?
I do not agree. I do not agree. I did not agree.
Why
because
now? Why?
When I was born, and now it's 27 years, something has changed. As in, some people are seeing, some people don't even know what sickle cell means. it will have reduced. Okay, so I don't agree because 50 years from now, I think there'll be enough advocacy, but we'll still need people to still try and remind them of why they should be advocates, of why they should know their genotype, of why there should be awareness on this issue. Because if you say that in 50 years' time, there should be no advocates, it means that people that we've taught over the years, the last 40 years, are not creating children about it. So you need to hand over what you know to other people so that they pass it on. Because if you don't pass it on, it becomes extinct and you go back to square one. We can't afford to go back to square one on sickle cell again. Like, we can't afford it at all, because if we say that we become extinct in the next 50 years, there's going to be a very huge problem that the world is not ready for. Because even as we are now, the problems that we have, we cannot manage it on sickle cell. The problems we are seeing, we cannot manage it without the government's involvement. So maybe by that time, if we have full operational government involvement, it means that they are fully involved, they are taking the right actions and the right steps. Yes, we can now say, okay, we will reduce advocacy from 90 to like 40%, because now the government is doing their job. But if government is not doing anything, you are multiplying your advocacy by 100. Because
okay, Titi, that's Peter disagreeing with you.
I totally disagree.
Titi is not agreeing with you.
Okay. All right.
Well,
let's continue there.
NGOs we have, and I believe
it's
that
not
the
by
number of sickle cell NGOs are producing sickle cell advocates. I believe that sickle cell NGOs are, building more, having peer educations, amidst themselves to produce a lot of sickle cell advocates. I believe that we would not need sickle cell advocates in this regard anymore, because, when one tells two, I believe that it's going to spread. If the current sickle cell advocate gives sickle cell the media publicity that it needs, even in 10 years, I believe sickle cell advocates should not have so much work to do. Even if government does nothing, there are lots of sickle cell advocates in Nigeria alone.
Yes,
so
I
truly
fight. If we stay here, this fight will continue.
But mommy, that the advocates, that most of the people who have NGOs that don't know what they are doing, what do we say? That they are doing advocacy the wrong way. We know that they are doing our own work.
Peter, don't go there. Don't go there.
They say I should go.
So this is one last question before we get off the show. So can both of you see the question from Lola?
Okay, what role as a Nigerian youth are you playing to combat it? I believe that I am doing my best. So help me God.
Education. We are anybody I meet. What is your genotype? Do you know your genotype? That's we are combating it with education.
Okay, so if I am
education awareness.
If I am to ask the two of you, which is the most important? What is the most important way? Should it be awareness or
question? No.
Yes, or advocacy? What is the most important? Titi.
Everybody on my team knows I am more passionate about awareness. And that comes because of my story of late diagnosis. I believe that awareness is more important. It is less expensive. It is, for me, it is awareness. They are both very important, but for me, awareness, advocacy, education, anything that comes in the line of stopping this thing, it is for me, awareness.
Okay, Peter, are you going with awareness? Is that the most important? Would you say that's the most important?
I'm going with advocacy because advocacy involves awareness. Thank you.
So how can we encourage youth living with sickle cell to engage actively in societal issues so as to ensure representation in other aspects of society. Wow, now.
Okay.
How do you want to encourage?
I believe that.
So how do we encourage youth to write?
Yes. Okay, for me.
Others, yes,
Okay.
other societal issues. Yes. Every societal
Titi,
issues. How do you encourage youth to engage? Yes, Titi, go ahead. I think she's frozen. Peter, can you take this up? Yeah, Peter.
So like get involved in education, get involved in politics, get involved in religion.
Yeah, but how do you want to encourage them to do that? How do you hope to encourage them to do that?
So when they understand that living with sickle cell is not about just living with sickle cell, that you can actually have there are other aspects. You are a human being first, and that as a human being, you are supposed to relate with your environment, relate with your society. So it's easier for them when they understand that to get involved in societal issues, because everybody comes from different backgrounds and they see different things. So looking at what they've seen so far, how do they think they can make a change in any of those angles? Especially, so I use religion as an example, because some people are from some parts of a religion, they feel they can't talk about other religions because they'll feel they're biased. So people are reserved because of that. So it is important that even though you are with one religion, you have friends who are in other religions. So it's easier for you to interact with them and know how their religion works. So when you are on that table outside, you're able to talk about different religions without them seeing it as bias. Same with politics.
Okay, so you're basically saying when in Rome, act as a Roman, Abi?
Yes.
Is that what you're basically saying? Yes, because a lot of our coaches do that. Yes. When you're in Rome, act as a Roman. So, Titi, do you know the answer to these questions? Where sickle cell advocates in Nigeria, where they are most concentrated? Does anybody know the answer to this question? Because me, Seb, I don't know. Where are they most concentrated? Lagos. That's what I would say too.
In terms of location.
Lagos. Yes. Those other people.
No, from Lagos has more than 10 or 15 NGOs in one state.
Is it NGO that is advocate? What's your own? Now why you always mention NGO? Please now. Oh.
Okay, I'm trying to say because a lot of NGOs do no advocates.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. A lot of NGOs. So in them you have advocates within. So how can young sickle cell warriors get non-sickle cell people to join in advocacy and awareness?
Okay.
A lot of ways. Number one,
like tell us now. We want to know.
People that the world, people are beginning to understand that volunteering can take them far.
Okay.
People want to volunteer because of volunteering certificate or a volunteering. I didn't get that.
Yes, but we don't want that volunteering because it's taking you far. We prefer the volunteering that you are doing from your heart, because from a place of understanding. So how do we get non-warriors? Because we find that it's a lot of warriors. Yes. So Peter, how do you get your friends who are not warriors
to join?
Yes.
So one of the ways is, like she said, telling your story, and also telling them that trying to do advocacy and awareness is improving on the society, so as to have less occurrences of the disorder. So you are not doing it because you are affected. You are doing it because you want to prevent it from happening. So it's easier for you to tell them that, okay, well, this is my story. These are the stories of other people. So it is important that we want to reduce this across the globe. So do awareness in your own little way, do advocacy in your own little way to help reduce it as it goes. Because even though you don't live with sickle, it's not about you living with sickle cell to be an advocate. Even if you don't live with sickle cell, you have people you've interacted with and you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know that back in one area,
So
somebody
we've been, Peter, you've been talking about
government.
government. Peter, you've been, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Peter, you've been
I had
talking
to cut
about
you short. So
government.
you see that somebody
Oh,
behind your house is saying something wrong. Because of what you've seen, you are able to, okay, how do you intend to reach the government with
yeah,
genotype
you.
messages? A serious question. Serious question.
What's the
You were
Okay,
talking
question?
about
so
the
you can
government some
reach
few
the
minutes ago.
government.
So how do you want to reach them?
Your government question now.
But we are not telling them genotype messages. Okay, so how do we reach the government with genotype messages? Now, when the government wants to see that there's evidence, you can show them evidence of um, the statistics, so to say, of the what happens when we have incompatibility of genotypes. Right? How do we reach the government? So that's the best. The best way to reach the government is to show them statistics, and that this statistics is not helping the government. That's them. That's not helping them. They need to work on it so that it improves the lifestyle. They don't want to spend money. So if you don't want to spend money, you have to do something about it. So show them statistics and get them to know that these things are actually happening. That you don't see does not mean it's not happening. And they should do something
So
about it
if
because statistics shows that you are claiming we are still the highest in the world. We are still the one that give it the world because our government has not done anything about it. So they need to know that okay, we
so
have these
if I'm to
statistics.
ask you now how you want
Because
to
you
get
people are not doing
this,
anything about it. If you do something about it, it will reduce drastically. Now, how will the government help? They either instruct or partner with media houses to. You said what?
no, I wanted to ask you, but you
I didn't
continued.
hear you.
I wanted to ask you how you will get these numbers. You're talking about
Sorry, I can't hear you
statistics.
again.
How do you intend to get these numbers? Because it is already a problem in this
Hello.
country getting the numbers. We don't have numbers. We don't have numbers for anything. We can't even say this is the number of child births in this country, not to talk
Okay.
of how many of those children were born with sickle cell. So if let's say somebody from the federal government says, okay, we would like you people to do something for us, but we need the numbers. Where do you want to start from? How do you intend to start? Is a lot
How
of
do you intend
work.
to start?
Now that one we will think till tomorrow.
It's big work. At the moment, I don't know where I want to say they should start from. So let me
So is the
just
number
calm
waiting?
down and continue with the other things.
We use the number we did since 100 years ago. All right, guys. Titi, thank you for coming on the show today, for honoring us with your presence, gracing us with your presence. Peter, thank you for being on the show today as well.
Thank you
And
so much for having me.
yeah, you're welcome. So for everyone out there who is watching, who listens in on our radio show, just follow the conversation on all our social media platforms. Check out our website as well. It's there on the banner if you can see it. Just take note of it. For everyone who has been part of the show today, and Tony, Lola, Larry Kuface, Toby, Tolu, John Paul Toluwashe, and Abiola, Teresa, David. So thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for joining us today. So we have actually come to the end of today's episode. Join us again next time on the show. Next time, same time, next weekend, next Saturday, 21st of November, 7:30 p.m. We'll have another interesting topic for you. So till we come your way again, do I say bye?